The Continental is a chain of hotel branches that are located around the globe. 4 have been revealed in the franchise. New York is predominantly the one used in all 4 films. The others are Rome, Casablanca, and Osaka. John Wick is an action thriller film franchise following a legendary hitman that comes out of retirement to avenge his family. With 4 installments and a spin-off series coming out soon, I will be explaining the John Wick franchise timeline. The prequel spin-off series, The Continental, follows the young life of Winston Scott, played by Colin Woodell, and how he came to acquire the position as New York Continental manager, with his concierge, young Sharon, played by Ayumiri Adigan. The predominant antagonist seen in the series is Hansel and Gretel, assassin twins, a masked adjudicator, and Cormac, the current manager of the New York Continental. The Continental has 2 major rules.
No blood on Continental grounds.
A good example of this is in the first film, when John comes back to the Continental after a long hiatus. He had just recently defeated all of Vigo's insurgency team. He wants revenge for what Losif did to his dog and car.
Yosef Terosov.
What about him?
I'd like to talk with him.
A talk, you say?
He is reminded of the rules in the Continental.
No business can be conducted on these premises lest incurring heavy penalties.
Another example of this is when John and Cation fight. They fall into the Rome Continental and are reminded.
Do I need to remind you that there will be no business conducted on the Continental grounds?
To which they grab a drink too.
Every marker must be honored.
A marker is perfectly explained by Santino in the scene.
For a man to grant a marker to another is to bind a soul to a blood oath.
It is a great symbol of debt and dealt with formally. After John accomplished Santino's task, Winston, the manager of the New York Continental, advises him to stamp his blood onto the marker book, sealing that John was no longer in debt. The formalities were exhibited carefully, with the monitoring of every open and closed marker. This is followed throughout the franchise, with seamless stylish suit to the curation of semi-automatic weapons. The choreography in the film is superb on its own. Keanu goes out of his way to master each scene prior to filming.
He'll see a sequence, we'll come in with the nunchucks and do something, and he'll start giggling. He's like, you want me to do that? He's like, okay, that's pretty cool. And he just goes from totally serious guy to, okay, now how do I learn how to do and he just, everything you need to know about nunchucks, he wants to know about nunchucks. He just throws himself into it.
An honorary mention to the rules are that the currencies they use are only gold coins.
Put these into circulation.
The punishments.
Rules. Without them, we live with the animals.
With law comes order. The Continental is heavy on their pursuit in punishment for disloyalty, with the high table sitting above the Continental, overseeing everything. Breaking any of the 2 rules results in
excommunicado. I am so sorry. Your life is now forfeit.
Excommunicado refers to the revoking of a person's privilege or membership. In the franchise, it refers to all access to the Continental services, and sometimes death itself. A great example is the story of Perkin. She is initially introduced as an assassin when John enters the Continental in the first film.
Good seeing you again, John.
Perkins.
When hearing of the $2 million bounty on John's head, she was willing to violate the Continental rules.
If they're willing to break the rules of Continental, double the bounty.
She sneaks into John's room and tussles with him, but he gains the upper hand and chokes her out. He pays his neighbor Harry to deal with her, to which she kills him and escapes. Hearing of this, the first example of the movie is shown. Winston revokes her privileges.
Your membership to the Continental has been by thine own hand revoked.
With 4 Continentals comes 4 separate managers. Now, these are the only ones shown in the franchise. Winston from the New York sector, Julius from Rome, Sophia from Casablanca, and Koji from the Osaka sector. They are all accompanied by various concierges. The High Table is a governing body that watches over the Continentals. It includes numerous crime families, including Roscaroma, the Japanese Yakuza, the Italian Camorra, and many more. They deploy people to deal with problems, like the adjudicator. She was sent out to assess the situation. Other agents of the table are the Harbinger, the law enforcer of the High Table. He served Winston with an eviction.
You have 1 hour.
and served as the grand juror for the duel. The only person that sits above the table is the Elder, an ominous figure that is only told in legend.
Walk until you are almost dead, then keep walking. When you are on your last breath, he will find you.
He is represented by a different Elder, coinciding with the fact that the Elder is more an entity rather than a person.
I'm afraid you've come a very long way for nothing.
Not really.
Disclaimer: the film exudes a realm of exclusivity and brings the audience into the underground world of an assassin's life. The first chapter of John Wick came out in 2014. He's played by the actor Keanu Reeves, but he will always be known as Neo for me. The plot follows John Wick's wife recently passing. He attends the burial of her body. He lives in a mansion alone with his dog Daisy, gifted to him by his late wife Helen before she passed. At a gas station, Losif Tarasov eyes out John's Ford Mustang muscle car, in which he breaks into John's house later and steals his car. In the process, he kills Daisy in front of John. Unaware, he boasts this to his father Vega, a crime boss, creating the iconic scene.
It's not what you did, son, that angers me so. It's who you did it to.
Who? The fucking nobody?
That fucking nobody is John Wick.
He is known as the Baba Yaga because he is so formidable at his job. People would send him to kill demons, hence the boogeyman.
People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
He goes on to add Losif and his father Vega to the kill count. At the end, he crashes his car and stumbles into a laboratory and rescues a pit bull. They set off. With the death of Vega and Losif, Abram takes over the Tarasov crime family. John hunts him down, but allows him to live so he can take his car back and so the family can stop trying to hunt him down. He goes back to living his depressing life as a widow and buries his guns when he gets a knock at the door. A crime boss, Santino Di Antonio. He wanted John to help finish one last mission, bringing out the marker, a blood oath bind John made with him in the past. John used to work for Vega until he retired. He was given the impossible mission to eliminate all of his enemies in one night, so that none of them could retaliate when he was gone. That was when he made the blood oath with Santino. Initially, John rejects him, but he travels to the New York Continental for advice. He is warned by Winston about the legally binding deal he chose by asking Santino for help at the start. The two rules they honor is that business can't be conducted on Continental grounds and honoring every marker.
I have no choice.
You dishonor the mark, you die. You kill the hold of the mark, you die. You run, you die.
Meeting up with Santino, he figures out what his mission is going to be. Santino wants him to kill his sister Gianna because she was left with the heir to the Camorra crime family seat at the high table. Convinced, he travels to Rome in a lock and load montage.
This is the original map of the D'Antonio estate.
How many buttons?
2.
Trousers?
Tapered.
How about the lining?
Tactical.
Accepting the deal, Santino seals his blood to conclude the contract of the marker. He hunts down Gianna at a music festival. Proclaiming their friendship, Gianna opted to slitting her own wrist because she didn't want to see John as a murderer. In honor of their friendship, he holds her hand until she passes out. Walking past John, Cation recognizes something is off. Being Gianna's bodyguard, he realizes John has something to do with her murder. Unwavering in his resolve, it leads to another fight scene, to which they fall into the Continental. They are advised to not conduct business on Continental ground.
May I suggest a visit to the bar, so you can calm yourselves.
Over a drink, John explains his intentions, that Santino forced him with a marker. Cation understood this, but expressed that he was going to avenge his ward. He finds out about the $7 million bounty Santino placed on him, as retaliation for the murder of Gianna.
Now he's free of the marker. What do you think he'll do?
He signs to Ares. She is the looming darkness following John throughout the film. She is also Santino's right-hand woman, seen as the second antagonist of the film. After grueling fights with multiple assassins, John leaves Cation alive as a professional courtesy.
The blade is in your aorta. You pull it out, you will bleed and you will die.
He places a gold coin into a homeless man's cup and pleads to take John to him. The homeless man kills the two assassins. The him he is referring to is the Bowery King. He is the leader of birds and homeless men. He decides to help John because in their recent encounter, John let him live.
No one sneaks up on me anymore, thanks to you.
He arms him with 7 bullets, 1 for each million. After failing to kill John, Ares returns to New York, where they celebrate Santino's ascension to the high table seat. This party is stormed by Wick. He hunts down Santino in a choreographed fight. In the process, he kills Ares, chasing Santino all the way to the Continental, where he mockingly asks what John's favorite dish is.
A man can stay here a long time and never eat the same meal twice.
Winston tries to calm John down, warning him of the inevitable.
Jonathan, just walk away.
Walk away.
He is escorted to meet with Winston the next day. When Winston gives him 1 hour before excommunicado and a marker for his future endeavors, he runs off as the assassins that surround the park get the notification to kill John for 14 million. The high table doubled the bounty from Santino. The adjudicator is introduced to assess the situation. More specifically, the lengths people went to aid and abet John. She recruits Zero as her executioner.
I will be of service.
Winston was removed from his position as manager because he didn't kill John and gave him an hour to escape.
You have 7 days.
The Bowery King was punished with 7 slashes.
You gave John Wick 7 bullets. In 7 days, you abdicate your throne.
She visits Roscaroma to punish the director for smuggling John out of New York. After John ran away from the assassins, he went to grab his crucifix and found Dr. Randall for help. He shoots him twice to make it look like he was forced to help John. He goes back to Roscaroma to his crime family. This is where the Ballerina was trained as an assassin and as a ballerina. It is the next installment of the John Wick franchise and takes place between John Wick 3 and 4. He pleads to the director for help for safe passage, giving up the crucifix as a form of currency. He is branded on his back, exiling him from the family. Arriving at Casablanca, he searches for Sophia, the third manager of the franchise. She is reluctant to help John. They travel to ask Barada, her former boss, for where they can find the Elder.
Walk until you are almost dead, then keep walking.
In return for this information, Barada asks for one of Sophia's dogs. She denies him the chance and he tries to claim it by shooting it, and a fight breaks out where they kill Barada and eventually dumps him in the desert to go and find the Elder, not before being a little petty.
Better get going.
He passes out from dehydration and is found by the Elder Camp, the one who sits above the table.
So tell me, Jonathan, why do you wish to live? My wife, Helen.
He asks to be forgiven and reinstated.
The cost of your life will be the death of others, the first of which will be the man they call Winston.
I will serve.
To show his commitment, John severs his finger and hands over his wedding ring, symbolizing that his love will only be devoted to the table. The last thing he has to do is kill Winston. He returns to New York, where he is pursued by Zero and his students.
Make sure you're holding the hand of the person in front and behind.
That's why you're special, John Wick. I wouldn't have stopped.
He barely makes it and reaches the Continental, where Zero is reminded.
He's excommunicado.
Unless you wish to become the same, I suggest you lower your gun.
While he waits to meet with Winston, this happens.
I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time. I'm a huge fan, John.
To which they meet.
Who do you wish to die as? The Baba Yaga, the last thing many men ever see, or as a man who loved and was loved by his wife?
Winston won't leave the Continental, and John won't kill Winston.
The Continental Hotel, New York.
New designation?
deconsecrated.
meaning that the Continental is no longer a neutral zone.
High Table emissaries will be joining you presently to see the removal of your souls from the property.
Zero is notified and the High Table sends in reinforcements to back them up. John Wick, as the legendary assassin he is, teams up with Charon to kill the enforcements and wounds Zero's students. He fatally wounds Zero. Meanwhile, Winston agrees to a parley with the adjudicator, explaining that the rebellion was a show of strength.
The High Table accepts your fealty. What are we going to do about John Wick?
Winston draws his pistol and shoots John multiple times. He falls off the roof, laying in the alley alone. Later, the distressed adjudicator runs back in.
I mean that he is no longer on the street.
He smiles, suggesting that he knows what happened. John is wheeled in front of a heavily damaged Bowery King.
You pissed John. Yeah.
Roughly 6 months have passed between films 3 and 4. This is also the time frame where the Ballerina takes place. Between those months, John was training to regain his strength. He returns to action by killing the new Elder. The original Elder couldn't return due to scheduling issues. It is mentioned that he was killed off screen.
Your ring is gone, like the Elder before me.
He seeks sanctuary at the Osaka Continental, where Koji welcomes him. He is informed that the New York Continental was deconsecrated and demolished, with the death of Sharon for the inability of Winston to kill him. The investigation is led by Vincent Bissett de Gramont, an agent of the High Table. Koji's daughter Akira is against him helping John. When they are met by the Marquis, they ask for John because they know Koji is concealing him. A fight breaks out and Koji and Akira stay behind to allow John to flee. Kane is a blind assassin who's extremely skilled. He was forced to work for Vincent because he threatened his daughter.
We give you a name, you give us a life. Or we take one.
I will serve. I will be of service.
They engage in combat, and Kane kills Koji, allowing Akira to live, to which she blames John for his death, and he promises to kill Kane for this.
I understand.
He returns to New York, where he finds Winston at Charon's gravesite. They decided to meet after the Continental had been blown up. John was able to forgive Winston because he knew it was part of a bigger plan to beat the High Table. He is informed that killing Vincent won't do much because they will just appoint someone else to replace him. He will need to use the old laws to grant his full freedom.
Your family does. Get them to issue the challenge and then offer you up as proxy.
I don't have a family. The Ruscaroma tore my ticket.
And I suggest you get your ass to Berlin.
He travels back to Berlin to ask for help at the Ruscaroma, where he is knocked out and strung up.
Piotr is dead.
After John killed the Elder, an assassin was instructed by Vincent to kill Piotr. He was the former leader of the Ruscaroma. Now Katia is the new leader. John is almost suffocated, but he brings up the point that he can.
Killing this Marquis.
They just appoint another. Его смерть ничего не меняет.
It does if I kill him in a duel.
Which Katia agrees to mend his ticket, only if he can kill the assassin.
Kila Harkan.
He infiltrates the nightclub, running into Kane and Mr. Nobody, a dog lover.
You hit my puppy.
And a funny guy.
This is for me, Mr.
Nobody.
And you are?
Nobody.
You want to kill him? You want to kill him? I want to kill him. What about you, Mr. Wick?
I'm going to kill you.
He easily kills Killer and takes his golden tooth as proof of confirmation. He is welcomed back and seared with the Ruscaroma crest, to which he chooses Winston as his second, and he presents the duel to Vincent. Should they win, John and Winston's excommunicado status will be lifted, and the New York Continental will be reconstructed, to which Vincent agrees.
A man second, like his sponsor, either walks out with his champion or is buried beside him.
I should mention at this point that Winston isn't being killed because he was just excommunicated. John killed a high table member at the Continental. That's why the table is heavily trying to persecute him. John arrives in Paris to where they will discuss the details of the duel. They play cards of life and death.
Sunrise, Sacré-Cœur. Dueling pistols, no quarter.
Vincent chooses Kane to represent him, to which the Harbinger allows. They are warned.
Failure to meet at the appointed hour will result in forfeiture and immediate execution.
When the time gets closer to sunrise, Vincent raises John's bounties to 40 million. He also dispatches his men to help delay John from reaching the destination.
I need you to get to the top of those stairs, John.
As old friends, Kane assists John to get to the top of the stairs.
You know you owe me. Yeah. John. We're even now.
Mr. Nobody watches from afar. They commence the duel. It is in iterations of one bullet until the opponent is dead. Every round a person doesn't die. They take steps closer and closer to each other.
Fire!
They both take 3 sets of bullets, incurring fatal damage. John is unable to get up, to which Vincent wants the final shot, unaware that he hasn't fired yet.
Consequences.
The Harbinger accepts this result.
You are free.
Vincent lost as a result of picking up pistol. Their status will be listed. Kane thanks him for not shooting and parts ways to go see his daughter Mia. John stumbles down the stairs where he remembers his wife Helen and passes away. Winston and the Bowery King visit his grave to commemorate him, while Kane goes to visit his daughter. In the crowd, Akira appears. This is where the 4th installment of the John Wick franchise ends. Theories have transpired that John Wick isn't dead. From theorists like Matt Pat, it begs the question if Wick is really dead. If you haven't seen the films, I recommend you watch them. Here are some honorable scenes.
Fuck you, motherfucker.